So Lewis, when we spoke earlier in the week, you said you wanted some running in the dry. You got that today. It looked like a pretty productive morning out there. How do you sum it up from your side?
It's nice to get out in the dry and do some running, because obviously our first day was in the miserable wet weather. And yeah, it was good to get out and kind of see. Obviously I drove in Ferrari just one lap or 2 laps I think we did, just to kind of fill the car. So it was great to be able to get some running and understand the tyres.
Barcelona, pre-season testing. Lewis Hamilton steps into that Ferrari SF-26, and what happens next leaves the entire paddock silent. His ex-team, Mercedes, watching from the garage across the pit lane in complete shock.
Ferrari noted with a new diffuser version, in addition to all the other innovations at the rear of that SF-25, but also George Russell and various other teams with thoughts on Mercedes, unreliability, where Red Bull really sit, and also what is going on at Aston Martin.
And now they've arrived in Bahrain, the second and final pre-season test before the season opener, and Charles Leclerc crosses the line with the fastest time of the entire test. Ferrari are back.
If Hamilton wins the Italian Grand Prix, he'll become the most successful driver ever at Monza, beating Michael Schumacher's current record of 5 wins at the same venue, which they're currently tied on. If Hamilton manages to out-qualify Leclerc overall this season, that will be the first time ever that Leclerc has been out-qualified by a teammate across the season. Hamilton could become the first driver ever to win a race with a failed combustion engine, because he could cross the line on electrical power alone. If Hamilton gets 10 fastest laps in 2026, he'll beat Michael Schumacher's all-time record of 77. If all 4 races in the Middle East are cancelled in 2026, Hamilton will need to lead 85% of all laps in order to beat Max Verstappen's outright record of leading 1,003 laps in a season. If Hamilton manages to win the first 8 races of the season, he'll have more wins at Ferrari than Charles Leclerc. And finally, if Hamilton manages to win every single Grand Prix and every single sprint race this season, he will have more points this season alone than Ayrton Senna scored in his entire career.
But this isn't just about lap times, because Lewis Hamilton has just sent a message to every single driver on the grid, and it might be the most powerful thing he's said in years. Stay with me. Because of this story, it's only just getting started.
Cheers. The car generation is actually a little bit more fun to drive. It's oversteery and snappy and sliding, but it's a little bit easier to catch. And yeah, I would definitely say more enjoyable. But we definitely have work to do to improve, of course, like everybody does. But I think we've had great debriefs. Everyone's really on it. I really feel like I really feel the winning mentality like in every single person in the team more than ever, so it's a positive.
Let's go back to Barcelona. Pre-season testing 2026. This is Lewis Hamilton's second year at Ferrari, and from the moment he hit the track, something was different. Gone was the frustrated, searching Hamilton of 2025. You know the one. The Hamilton who couldn't find a podium the entire season. The first time in 20 years of Formula One that Lewis Hamilton went an entire year without standing on that top step. But in Barcelona, a completely different animal.
Lewis Hamilton was in good spirits today, perhaps because he thinks he's got a chance of a win. Certainly a podium. The Ferrari driver dressed in casual gear, and we haven't seen him too often in casual gear, but he was relaxed and happy. Actually, on the back, what did it say? Freedom belongs to all. We'll be on track tomorrow for FP1 and 2, and there is a certain amount of buzz and hype amongst the Ferrari fans out on the Melbourne Walk this morning. Will they be rewarded come Sunday afternoon?
His pace in the long runs was serious. The SF-26 looked planted, aggressive, and most importantly, it looked like a car Lewis Hamilton understood. And Mercedes, the team he drove for over a decade, the team he won 6 of his 7 world championships with, they were watching, they were paying close attention, because the man they let go looked like he was finding himself again.
Laura, thank you. Well, Formula One fever has taken over Melbourne, with dedicated fans lining up overnight to be the first in the gates at Albert Park this morning. This year's event is the season opener, with all eyes on local hero Oscar Piastri.
Then comes Bahrain, the second pre-season test. 3 days. The last chance for every team to figure out where they stand before the lights go out in Melbourne. And Ferrari, they are flying. His long-run pace throughout the test was being spoken about in hushed, serious tones. Because in Formula One, everyone knows qualifying laps grab headlines, but race pace wins championships.
Because they are the testing Formula One world champions, which we know means absolutely nothing at all. But let's start outright pace. They top the test. As we were saying on our podcast episode, the regulations have changed this year. Now, every time the drivers hit a straight, they're able to open the rear wing and the front wing, reduce the drag, reduce the downforce, increase top line speed. Every team, that rear wing opens. Ferrari's doesn't just open, it flips 180 degrees and goes upside down. Now, what does that do, right? The basics of aerodynamics in Formula One are the opposite of wings on aeroplanes. Wings on aeroplanes are designed to provide lift and launch them up into the sky. Wings on Formula One cars are upside down and designed to push the cars down onto the track and increase grip. So this wing flipping 180 essentially turns it into an aeroplane wing and induces lift. And that tiny little winglet at the bottom just helps to keep those tyres down on the ground so the rear tyres aren't lifted up into the air. It's incredibly smart. It means the Ferrari is lightning in a straight line, and as we saw from their practice starts, the Ferrari off the line, I don't know if you guys saw the last video of this, because it's madness.
I mean, who didn't see it?
You've got all the other cars lined up, row 1, row 2, row 3. Lewis is back on like row 10.
I think he started from 9th.
I think he started
There were
from
gaps
Qatar.
between each row as
Like,
well.
he wasn't even in Bahrain anymore.
Yes.
And by the time they got to turn 1, Lewis was P1.
Yeah.
The way it looks at the moment, Ferrari could qualify on the back row of the grid and be leading the Grand Prix by turn 1.
Ferrari showed both. McLaren covered the most laps of any team in Bahrain, 395 total, with Piastri setting their fastest time of 1 minute 32.861. But it was Ferrari holding the crown at the top when the checkered flag fell. The Paddock consensus heading into Australia, Ferrari and Mercedes are the favourites. But Lewis Hamilton himself, he isn't sleeping on Red Bull either. And then, in Melbourne, ahead of the Australian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton walks into the press conference and he says this: the goal is to win. Simple, direct, no hesitation. This is a man who hasn't won a Grand Prix since 2024, a man who spent 2025 feeling lost inside a team that hadn't yet clicked with him, a man who, by his own admission, forgot who he was for a moment. But that person, he says, is gone. Quote, I lost sight for a second of who I was, and that person's gone. You won't see that person again. He trained from Christmas Day. He rebuilt his mindset. He studied Ferrari from the inside out. And now, year 2, he says he has gelled with the team in a way year 1 never allowed. This isn't a Hamilton going through the motions. This is a Hamilton on a mission. But let's step back, because some of you watching might be newer to Formula One. So let me tell you exactly why the entire sport holds its breath when Lewis Hamilton talks about winning. The numbers: 7 world championships, 7, tied only with Michael Schumacher, who many considered untouchable before Lewis came along. 104 Grand Prix victories, the all-time record. Nobody else is close. 104 pole positions, again, the record. Podiums in 20 consecutive seasons of Formula One, 20 years. The driving style. Hamilton is what experts call a complete driver. He doesn't just have one weapon, he has everything. His qualifying pace is ruthless. He has an almost supernatural ability to find the absolute limit of a car in a single flying lap. His racecraft is chess-level thinking at 200 miles per hour. Managing tyres, reading traffic, setting traps for rivals, making the decisive overtake at exactly the right moment. His wet weather driving, almost universally regarded as the best in the history of the sport. Donington 2008, Nürburgring 2011, Brazil 2016. If it rains, Hamilton elevates, and his adaptability, moving from dominating, now moving to Ferrari, rebuilding again, by then already showing signs of what's coming. What his rivals say, Max Verstappen, the 3-time world champion, has called Hamilton one of the greatest to ever do it. Fernando Alonso, himself a 2-time champion, has acknowledged Hamilton's incredible longevity and pace. Even his fiercest critics admit There are maybe 2 or 3 drivers in the history of this sport in the same conversation as Lewis Hamilton.
Well, the emotions, I think, just waking up here in Ferrari is it's very, very, very special. And I think, obviously I've been here the past week or so, and seeing the car coming together, also just knowing how hard everyone works, and you get to see everyone at their desks every week that I'm here, and all the work that we've been doing on the simulator and just the building blocks that you put in place to then see a car come together. It is the most exciting part of the year when you see all these pieces come out of different departments, and then eventually it all fits together and you're only one of 2 that gets to go out and drive it. It's pretty remarkable.
Lewis Hamilton has stunned everyone. The entire grid, fans, team, drivers, coaches, and ex-F1 legends. But this time, David Croft backs Hamilton's GOAT, comeback at Ferrari, and says he will beat his own teammate Leclerc, but he's not alone. Nick Heidfeld thinks Hamilton will still suffer against a Leclerc in his prime.
If it wasn't for Lewis, I wouldn't be in the film, because he sat down with Jerry Bruckheimer and Joe Kosinski and said, look, if you want to make it authentic in terms of the commentary, don't get an actor, get Crofty and Martin to do it, because they're the voice. And so I'm really glad to say that the producers agreed with Lewis on that, and I thanked him for it a couple of years ago. He said, you don't have to thank me. I went, no, you said a really nice thing, and I really appreciate it.
I think Ferrari are very interesting. I think they seem to be quite happy where they are.
Lewis has been positive with his comments about how the story is within the car, so that's I think
there wasn't any long faces, so I think he's happy with, as far as the driving experience goes, I think he seems to be liking it. They're in the mix.
No, they're in the mix, the top 4.
It's picking the winner from that.
Did they show too much raw pace? Was that everything they've got?
How many times we've been to Bahrain in pre-season testing and Ferrari have looked good? Or Barcelona for that matter.
Last year.
Yeah.
As well.
This is a slight worry with Ferrari. Yeah. They kind of get themselves too far ahead too soon. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was a good performance. They weren't breaking down all this.
It was a nice gap
they
as well, difference.
As I said, the drivers looked happy driving the cars.
That's right, the man who was outscored, outqualified and outdriven by his own teammate last year, the man some called finished, is being backed to silence every single critic who dared to count him out. So today, we're going deep.
Man that woke up this morning on the verge of an historic 92nd win in Formula 1. Records are there to be broken, said Michael Schumacher. The record is...
His driving style, his records, why the greatest minds in Formula 1 still call him the GOAT, and why 2026 could be the most electric Lewis Hamilton story we have ever seen. Stay right there. Let's be honest, 2025 was hard to watch. For the first time in his entire Formula 1 career, Lewis Hamilton looked lost.
Sorry? Why would I be tired? I did 1 session today.
It's been a long day, nonetheless.
It's been a long year.
Long year.
Honest, Ferrari are working hard back at the factory on their inverted rear wing concept to bring a version that can actually work on the car over the first few rounds of this season. But according to rumours, other teams, after seeing what Ferrari did in the Bahrain test, have also started work on a very similar concept, and apparently Red Bull might bring their version sooner than Ferrari's is ready. This does imply this is going to gain a significant amount of performance. Will all the other teams follow suit as well?
He joined Ferrari with the weight of a nation on his shoulders. The Tifosi were dreaming, the world was watching, and the 7-time world champion, the most decorated driver in the history of the sport, couldn't find his rhythm. By the end of the season, the numbers told a brutal story. Hamilton, 156 points. Leclerc, 242.
With Ferrari, because they are the testing Formula 1 world champions, which we know means absolutely nothing at all. But let's start outright pace. They top the test. As we were saying on our podcast episode, the regulations have changed this year. Now every time the drivers hit a straight, they're able to open the rear wing and the front wing, reduce the drag, reduce the downforce, increase top line speed. Every team, that rear wing opens. Ferrari's doesn't just open, it flips 180 degrees and goes upside down. Now what does that do, right? The basics of aerodynamics in Formula 1 are the opposite of wings on aeroplanes. Wings on aeroplanes are designed to provide lift and launch them up into the sky. Wings on Formula One cars are upside down and designed to push the cars down onto the track and increase grip. So this wing flip in 180 essentially turns it into an aeroplane wing and induces lift. And that tiny little winglet at the bottom just helps to keep those tyres down on the ground so the rear tyres aren't lifted up into the air. It's incredibly smart. It means the Ferrari is lightning in a straight line, and as we saw from their practice starts, the Ferrari off the line, I don't know if you guys saw the last video of this, because it's madness.
I mean, who didn't see it?
You've got all the other cars lined up, row 1, row 2, row 3. Lewis is back on like row 10.
I think he started from 9th.
I think he started
There were
from
gaps
Qatar.
between each row as
Like,
well.
he wasn't even in Bahrain anymore.
Yes.
And by the time they got to turn 1, Lewis was P1.
Yeah.
The way it looks at the moment, Ferrari could qualify on the back row of the grid.
He beat his teammate to the checkered flag just 3 times across a 24-race season. He outqualified him only 5 times. And the worst part? It wasn't just the results, it was confidence. The Lewis Hamilton swagger. That cold, calculated belief that has carried him to 105 race victories, it was gone. Even the Tifosi were worried. But here's what they forgot. Here's what everyone forgot. Lewis Hamilton has been here before. 2011 McLaren struggles, 2017 Ferrari battle, 2021 Abu Dhabi heartbreak. Hamilton bouncing back every single time. Every single time the world has written him off. He has come back, and now one of the most respected voices in the sport has made it crystal clear. David Croft, the man who has called some of the greatest moments in Formula One history, was asked a simple question on Sky Sports News. Can Lewis Hamilton beat Charles Leclerc in 2026? And Croft didn't hesitate. He didn't hedge. He didn't qualify it with 100 buts and maybes. He said, of course he can. Even at this moment, Lewis is just as good as any other top driver in Formula One. He is the GOAT. He is a 7-time world champion and the most successful driver in history. He isn't getting any younger, and he's up against an impressive teammate, but you can never write him off. Never write him off. From the man who has sat in that commentary box and watched Hamilton dismantle an entire generation of Formula One drivers, that means something. But Croft didn't stop there. He went further. He explained why this year is different, why 2026 isn't just another season, why it's a reset. And the key, it's in the car. During pre-season testing in Bahrain, something shifted. Hamilton wasn't just driving the SF-26, he was flying in it. He set the fastest race starts of the entire test, not once, twice. Both practice starts. Hamilton was the quickest off the line, blasting past Verstappen, Antonelli, and the rest like they were standing still. David Croft, watching from the commentary box, called Ferrari's launches a rocket launcher on the grid. But it goes deeper than raw speed. Hamilton himself revealed that his DNA is embedded in this car. Unlike the 2025 machine, which he inherited and never truly connected with, Hamilton has been involved in developing the SF-26 from the very beginning. His feedback, his preferences, his natural driving style, all of it shaped into the architecture of this car. And that matters enormously, because here's the thing about Lewis Hamilton's driving style that most people don't fully appreciate. Lewis Hamilton is not a driver who dominates through brute force. He dominates through feel. His ability to read a car, to understand exactly what it's doing underneath him and extract the absolute maximum, is unmatched in the modern era. Former world champions, engineers who've worked with everyone, they all say the same thing. Nobody gives feedback like Lewis Hamilton, nobody. But that sensitivity, that extraordinary feel, is also what made the ground effect era from 2022 to 2025 so difficult for him. Those cars, with their stiff setups and mechanical characteristics, didn't suit the way Hamilton naturally drives. He likes a car that rotates, that responds to his inputs immediately, that rewards the kind of flowing, instinctive driving style that made him a legend at Mercedes. The 2026 regulations, they bring back elements that suit Hamilton perfectly. And the numbers from testing are already reflecting that. Martin Brundle agrees, Will Buxton agrees. The consensus across the paddock is growing. Lewis Hamilton is back. Now, this wouldn't be a proper F1 debate without someone on the other side, and that man is former F1 driver Nick Heidfeld. Heidfeld has been brutally honest, and look, we respect that. Here's what he said. I think Lewis will still have a hard time, simply because, in my opinion, Leclerc is really in his prime at the moment, whereas Lewis is not. He's not really used to having a teammate who is faster than him in his career. I would be surprised if he had the upper hand at Ferrari this year.